It was only 2 weeks ago today that Joe Scarborough was calling Donald Trump a fascist. And I was grateful for that because he had the courage to do that when the New York Times and the Washington Post and CNN and NPR did not face the fascism at the door. And now it's inside, and he goes and visits. And what's so upsetting about that is obviously I've identified myself now as a liberal, and NBC was kind of all we had. The New York Times and the Washington Post has angered liberals tremendously through the coverage. CNN tries to be balanced and do this. MSNBC was the last liberal outpost of media. And I know you might start laughing at me, the New York Times and the Washington Post are liberal. We'll disagree about that. But MSNBC was that. And there was no good reason to go and pay obeisance in advance. Nothing journalistic came out of this visit. They came and it was all off the record. Oh, we're going to ask him for an interview. Well, obviously Trump's going to want the airtime. That's fine. No value came. And they went on bended knee. And it was, I think, in the end, a betrayal of the staff at MSNBC who do still criticize Donald Trump, who now feel that they are in some jeopardy because of that, because he has threatened the press. And so I think that it was a bad moment for Joe and Mika. And I'm going to think that MSNBC for me, starts about 4 p.m.
Meanwhile.
And I will say also, I just want to say thank you, first of all, to everybody who was so kind last night, but also thank you. Willie, yesterday I saw for the first time what a massive disconnect there was between social media and the real world, because we were flooded with phone calls from people all day, literally around the world. Very positive, very supportive, going, I understand what you do, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. But once in a while, I would get a text or a call from someone and go, oh, man, I hope you're doing okay. And I'd call him back and I go, well, Eddie Glaude was one of them. I go, Eddie, are you on Twitter? And he goes, I am. I go, okay, well, I'm not. So we've had a good day. Mika just had a wonderful event, and it's fantastic. We're going to do all of us are going to do the best we can do, and we're all working towards a better America.
Take it day by day.
Day by day. And again, you can predict the future by shaping the future.
Boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy, oh boy. We have to follow up on the massive backlash that MSNBC is now getting from their own audience over Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski bending the knee to Trump. And there are now videos going viral just showing how ridiculous Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski are, because these individuals have said some really, really, really heinous things about Trump. And in fact, there was a video that is now going viral of Joe Scarborough just back in April, basically declaring that there is no middle ground with Trump. Okay, now he did this before coming out after Trump won the election and basically declaring, hey, we have to find middle ground with Trump. Take a look.
She gets sick and tired of me trying to understand other people and being so pragmatic and trying to be like, I'm okay, you're okay. Now, where can we meet in the middle? La, la, la. On this question, we're past that. You can't meet. If they voted for Trump in 16, whatever. They voted for Trump in 20, they knew exactly what they were doing. If they vote for Donald Trump in 2024, and I've said it on my show, I'll say it here, they're knowingly voting for a fascist. They're voting for a racist. They're voting for somebody that wants to put this country 200 years in the back. And so I'm not trying to figure them out. I'm trying to figure out how we get people out who love democracy, who love freedom, who love the rights of all Americans, how to get them to the voting booth. Because that's how we save our country.
Yeah, so it went from that to visiting Trump after his victory and bending the knee, saying the ring, in which they are receiving a whole lot of backlash from the left for doing so. And everybody knows why they're doing it. They're doing it because they are losing viewers, okay? And they openly coped on MSNBC today, this morning, on this show about the fact that they are losing viewers. And they're trying to figure out how in the world can we get people to watch MSNBC Again, now that a lot of people have turned to social media, websites like X, for their news. Take a look.
Research shows 1 in 5 adults regularly get their news from influencers on social media. The number is even higher among younger Americans, with almost 40% under the age of 30 getting their news from those sources. According to the Pew Research Center, the social media site X remains the most widely accessed platform, followed by Instagram and YouTube.
I mean, that comes obviously for political news. And Mike, that's the challenge. You grew up in a newsroom like Gene grew up in a newsroom. I mean, that's a lot of challenge. That's a challenge for a lot of mainstream media sources is, do they make themselves relevant again to here 20% of adults who actually get influencers on social media?
I don't know
maybe somebody who makes baskets, and while they're making baskets, they look up and say, vote for candidate X.
I don't know how we make ourselves relevant again, because we can't compete with 20-second snippets on an iPhone, walking up the street,
morsels,
getting your entire news digest of the day in less than a minute on your phone as you're walking under the crowd with coffee in one hand and your phone in the other. I don't know how we catch up to that.
Yeah, so Gene Robinson, do you agree with Mike? Because I find this hard to believe. Well, that younger voters would be more interested in getting an entertaining 20-second news snippet than watching a cable news show for 4 hours from 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. Come on. This seems like an easy choice to us here.
What is wrong with these people? Exactly. Yeah. I mean, look, if I knew the answer, I would implement it immediately, right? And reverse this, but we have to compete. I mean, the answer is we don't know how to compete with these social media basket-making influencers or whatever, but we have to, and so we've got to figure out ways to do it, and maybe we make our own 20-second snippets, and we meet viewers where they are. We meet news consumers where they are, because they're not here. And that's the problem.
Yeah, so there you have it, right? Out of the horse's mouth. The viewers are not here, right? The viewers are not here. They're upset, they're pissed that nobody is watching MSNBC. And what's even worse is that after Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski stunt, even less people are watching MSNBC, because according to the reports, their liberal audience is running away, right? So I want you guys to understand, they already were losing viewers after the election because a ton of people got tricked, hoodwinked, led astray, run amok, okay? Because these people gaslit them into believing that Kamala Harris could actually win, right? And that Trump was a fascist and that everything is terrible. And then after Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski came out and said, psych, we didn't really mean that, okay? We're going to start to change how we cover things. Now, even more people are leaving. This is hilarious, right? So they essentially just made the problem that they were experiencing worse, right? Because the reason why they went to Mar-a-Lago is because they were losing viewers. And as a result of that, they're losing more viewers, okay? I don't think any conservatives are going to tune in and watch Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski, right? At this point, they may just have to retire, right? They may just have to quit, considering how nobody's watching their show. But I want to be clear. While this is a good thing, okay, while I am very happy about this, it's also sad to think about the fact that this did not happen earlier, because in a sane world, in a sane society, they would have lost all their viewers when Joe Scarborough came out and said that Joe Biden is the sharpest he's ever been. And if you disagree with him, if you don't think so, then F you. F you is what he said on his network, despite the fact that Biden was obviously, clearly, mentally declining. But Joe Scarborough said, listen, I personally know Biden, and he's the best he's ever been. That should have ruined the credibility of the show with sane people, right? But because a lot of people on the left are not sane, so unfortunately, they did not lose a majority of their viewers at that time. But again, in a sane world, they would have lost all their viewers. In fact, a lot of these leftists should be losing all their viewers, considering how a lot of them were extremely, extremely, extremely wrong about Kamala Harris and the Democrats going into the election. So let's read here from the Daily Mail. Morning Joe suffers humiliating defeat as show turns off social media comments after they were brutally roasted for Trump flip-flop. Morning Joe saw a ratings nosedive after the host revealed their secret Mar-a-Lago meeting with Donald Trump as the show's social channels turned off comments to avoid the turn of backlash from fans. Joe Scarborough and Mika Brzezinski dismissed the criticism on their show Tuesday, saying it just proves there's a massive disconnect between social media and the real world. However, if ratings are to be believed, the real world and social media may not be as disconnected as they think. As a morning show that starts every day at 6 a.m., viewership is supposed to climb as the day's episode goes on. However, Nielsen ratings show 145,000 viewers turned off MSNBC in the 7 a.m. hour just after Scarborough and Brzezinski discussed the meeting, as they went from 839,000 viewers at 6 a.m. to 694,000 at 7 a.m. What's more, 38% of their audience in the 25 to 54 age demographic, seen as pivotal to the major cable news networks, tuned out. Yeah, so after they made that announcement, the liberals said, all right, we're done. Right? They actually literally turned the channel, right? They flipped the channel after they made that announcement. Now, Joe and Mika, who, by the way, I don't think that they have officially come out and said that, yeah, they're registered Democrats. Okay, I believe that Joe Scarborough still claims that he's a conservative, right? He used to be a Republican. I think now he's like unaffiliated. I'm not entirely sure. But regardless, they're learning the hard way what happens when you join the left, right? When you join the left and you abandon the left, when you turn on the left, they will eat you alive, right? That is what's happening. They will cancel you quickly, right? If you turn on them, right? So that's what's happening to them right now. This is why I'm not sure if they can survive, right? Especially post-election. They're not going to be Trump deranged. I don't think they're going to be able to survive this. I think that MSNBC is going to have to make some major changes at their network, okay? Because not only is Joe Scarborough losing views, right? Morning Joe, but look at their YouTube channel. Their YouTube channel is struggling as well too, right? They're losing a ton of views on their YouTube channel too. They're going to learn the hard way that the left doesn't forget, and they most certainly do not forgive, right? They never forgive. The show briefly rebounded in the 8 a.m. hour with 775,000 viewers, but the numbers went down again to 770,000 at 9 a.m. As recently as October, the MSNBC morning anchor was averaging as high as 1.14 million viewers throughout its 4 hours. Yeah, so imagine going from 1.14 million to as low as about 700,000, right? So they've lost about 300,000 to 400,000 viewers since the election. MSNBC's viewership has already taken a nosedive in the week after Donald Trump's landslide election victory. Media reporter Aaron Rupar also noted that the show's social media feeds have turned off all comments. The stars of Morning Joe have defended their controversial meeting with Trump after being slammed by their media colleagues. And basically, they claim that there's a disconnect, right? They say that, hey, the internet is not real life, right? I mean, basically cope, because the numbers say differently, right? The numbers say that, yeah. It's not just the internet, but their actual viewers, real life viewers, are turning off the show because of their comments, right? So essentially, they've lost the right, okay? Because this show used to be a centrist show, right? It used to be a show where they would try to cover both sides fairly, okay? Particularly, again, before Trump ran for president, and at times when Trump ran for president, Joe Scarborough was still friendly with Trump. And then after Trump became president, that's when all hell broke loose. So they've essentially said, screw conservatives. We don't need them. We're going 100% Trump deranged. So they went all in on the liberal audience. Now, all of a sudden, okay, 8 years later, they are saying, you know what, maybe we should move back towards the middle, and the left is saying, screw you, right? We don't want any part of that, and they're losing viewers. So it seems as if MSNBC definitely is going to have to make some changes, right? Because they did turn off the comments on their social media feed. Like, for example, this video that was posted about how nothing is changing on covering Trump's second term. They turned off the comments.
Nothing changes for me, and I think for you guys either, from before Election Day, which is You know how we have criticized Donald Trump. You know about his policies. You can see it in the people he's nominating. You'll see it in a minute when we talk about his plan for mass deportation. None of that changes for me. None of that changes for us in the way we will criticize that. He is the president of the United States. That's a fact of the matter. He won very narrowly. I would point out that just yesterday, as more votes came into California, he has slipped under a 50% majority nationally. All of those swing states, save for Arizona, within the margin of error. The polling actually was right in those states.
So when we were saying every day, this race is a tide?
It was.
It was tied.
It was. Right. He swept the battleground states. True. In that way, it was overwhelming.
He swept them, but within the margin of error, which again, that's how you win elections these days. 2016 within the margin of error. 2020 within the margin of error. 2024 within the margin. We are a 50-50 nation. I guess the question is, again, side issue, when are we going to learn to work together?
Yeah, and I mean, I'm deeply skeptical, it might be an understatement, that he's going to suddenly be this bipartisan figure in our country, given his history, given the nominations and the choices he's making right now. But we will cover him as we've been covering him.
Yeah, so apparently Morning Joe didn't want to see or hear any comments from their audience on this conversation, right? This coping session where they're basically trying to say, well, look, guys, it's not that much is changing. Please don't leave. Please don't leave. Yeah, so this is hilarious. We'll see how it goes. My gut feeling, though, is that ultimately MSNBC, they're going to have to make some major changes to that network. I think they're going to have to let go of some of these people. Joe Scarborough should have been let go a long time ago. After the whole Joe Biden thing, they should let him go. They should let go of Joy Reid and a lot of these other propagandists. They're just not people that I think are good for the network. They're not good for politics. They're not good for political discourse in this country. And if they were smart, they'd go and find some good conservatives, okay, and try to get a conservative audience. I'm just saying. One day, MSNBC, CNN, they will get smart enough and realize, hey, let's actually try to compete with Fox News, right? Let's actually try to take some of Fox News' audience. But until they actually figure that out, they're going to continue to struggle. But let me know what you guys think. Make sure you like, comment, and subscribe. Most importantly, share a Black conservative perspective. Peace.